Good morning. This is Judge Alyssa Perez presiding over the 210th District Court criminal docket for May 25th, 2023. All matters being heard today are being heard in accordance with all emergency orders and directives regarding COVID-19. In addition to that, we are streaming all matters live via YouTube for public viewing. Mr. Marufo, would you call our next case, please?
First one will be on top of page 10, Judge, probation revocation on cause number 2021-0D00743 and 2020-0D06119, State of Texas versus Kayla Mendiola. Announcement of counsel, please.
Again, Alyssa for the state. State is ready.
Good morning, Your Honor. Jesus Olias on behalf of Ms. Mendiola. I'm ready as well.
Okay, Ms. Mendiola is in custody. I know we had been looking at some mental health, and I think I did see this report, Carla, in terms of some of the diagnosis. I just cannot access it right now. Can you tell me they had done some type of screening and they had kind of gone over through some mental health history of Ms. Mendiola?
Good morning, Your Honor. Yes, that's correct. She was screened or she was assessed and seen while in custody. There was a notation from the probation department's mental health coordinator, Ms. Roxanne Garcia Juarez, who was informed that of her diagnoses, and there is an upcoming appointment scheduled for the 28th of this month, which is on, I guess it's at the Annex for Psychiatric Services. There is history as well of other diagnoses that were mentioned. And at this time, they are trying to schedule the intake appointment so that
Takumi, right? Yeah. I think Takumi was the recommendation, and then I think ultimately the recommendation included an extension. I don't know that I knew the extent of the mental health history. Mr. Olivas, go ahead.
No, Judge, I was just listening. Go ahead.
Okay. Ms. Elizalde's got her head in both hands. And so I don't know if that's a reflection of the case we're handling. Carla, it started when you were talking, so I don't want to point fingers, but Ms. Elizalde, I don't know if Mr. Olivas wants to hear from you, but.
Judge, it's not because Carla started speaking, but it's thinking really hard because I know she was let out, then she absconded, and I was trying to figure out, is this treatment plan going to be inpatient, or are we just relying on?
Right. Yeah. I think Ms. Elizalde is going down the path that I am, which is, if we're going to go that route, it's going to have to be so restrictive in terms of, whatever the treatment is, like just finding her some type of housing and extending her and getting her on a Takumi plan. No, that's not going to work. But we have another evaluation on the 28th. I'm more than happy to await something there and see if we can tailor a better plan to consider than what we have today.
Just no plan.
Mr. Olivas, I mean,
Yes.
Is she wanting to stay on probation, get treatment, participate in treatment? She's got a lot. It's really a severe mixed bag.
Yeah, she really doesn't know. Yeah, she really doesn't know. I'm sorry for interrupting you.
Severe
really
mental health diagnoses, but then the substance use, right? This is the one is this with all the fentanyl, like daily fentanyl use, things like that?
Yeah, she's a handful.
So, what else, Ms. Elizalde? Oh,
Judge, I think that I at least from the state, we would want inpatient, because I don't think she's at a place where she's going to report. I think we're going to lose her again, and that defeats the whole purpose. So if you can communicate that to probation or something like that, that would be great to the.
Carla, what is our most, I guess, I say restrictive, you know what I mean? Like physical movements restrictive is what I mean. that
Right.
is also the most intensive with both mental health and substance use treatment.
Inpatient?
Mhm.
Honestly, Judge, the only thing I can think of is safety with
Yeah.
special needs.
Does she have children? Does she have, is she a single, a standalone, or does she have kids or anything like that?
I don't
I
believe
don't know.
Okay. I wouldn't have a problem with Safe P, honestly, if it's gonna address her needs.
Your Honor, and only because, I mean, BHRTC, it's just it's a case-by-case treatment-based plan, obviously, and yes, she'll be at BHRTC for treatment, and then she'll be released when she's completed BHRTC, and then from there, she would follow further modification, you know, if mental health caseload,
Right.
all of that, but that's not inpatient either. So,
All
If she
right,
walked out at any time, right, from BHRTC?
I mean, if they leave, yes.
let's, I'm gonna reset this actually for 30 days.
Good.
Because we're not, yeah, we're gonna come back in 30 days. I need to see a more restrictive plan than that, Mr. Olivas, to the extent that you can help inform the court whether she's, I guess, mentally in a spot where she's making decisions, right? I'm not even sure I'm comfortable that she is. And if so, if she's telling you, yes, I don't want to do any more probation, or I
Okay.
just want to do my time. If not, I am gonna look at Safe P, and so maybe you can go over that with her, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you very much. We'll get
Thank
our
you.
reset. We
Have a
can
good day.
take care of you two. We can take care of Ms. Escoto and Judge Trochet next. I don't know who else is here.
Yes, Judge.
Mhm.
In cause number 2020-0D0 5833, State of Texas versus Magdalena Macias Escoto. Announcement of council, please.
Again, any solid for the state is ready.
Jose Trochet, on behalf of Mrs. Cotto, we are ready, Your Honor.
And Ms. Escoto is appearing remotely as well. We are scheduled today for a motion for early discharge. Mr. Judge Trochet, you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. First of all, let's switch gears here from the last hearing because this is a success story, Your Honor, absolute success story. And I have on tap here the people who were involved, the caseworkers and so forth. I think they were put into the waiting room. I think they might be a good idea to bring them out. Let me just real quickly.
Let me stop you right there, Judge. Who
yeah.
are the folks that you want brought into this hearing?
Let me get the names here, Your Honor. Let me do what I always do, is ask my secretary. Angie, what is the name of this lady that, the lady from New Mexico?
Kristen Martin.
Okay, she's coming in. Is that the only one?
And I thought Ms. Mata might be on also, Your Honor, but
Okay.
from probation. Is
Oh,
Ms.
yeah,
Mata
Ms.
on?
Mata is there. Hi, Ms. Mata.
Good morning.
Okay, yeah, those are the only two, Your Honor, thank you.
Okay.
In any case, Your Honor, we had placed this lady on probation back in August of 3rd of 2021. She, the first thing she did was we moved her up to New Mexico. She went for an inpatient VA program, which lasted a month, an inpatient up in Albuquerque. After that, she went to the Veterans Court in New Mexico, and she spent a year and 3 months in that program, and she has now graduated. Not only did she graduate, Your Honor, there was a ceremony there at the court, and all her paintings, she's a very accomplished artist, all her paintings were displayed at that meeting, and she was the guest speaker. And I understand everybody else, even the governor may have been there at that program. Long story short, Your Honor, she has successfully completed all her programs. She has now moved back to El Paso and bought a home. She has an extended family here, including her mother and siblings and so forth. And she has an opportunity to get a job, which will require her to do some traveling. And so for all those reasons, Your Honor, we were asking the court to go ahead and have an early termination of her case. She has been on a monitor ever since, on a monitor in the car, and there's never been any problems. And let me see what else we have for her, Your Honor. She, I don't know if the court can see this, Your Honor, but this is one of the paintings that she has. And she is, like I said, very accomplished. I'm going to buy one of her paintings here done. She's very, very good. She has an art degree from UTEP. She is a disabled veteran, Your Honor, disabled as a result of assault in the military. And but she has really, recovered fully from all her problems. And so we are asking, and of course, she's here, Your Honor, and she's very anxious to address the court at your convenience, Judge.
Okay, let me, I can just, well, let me hear from Mrs. Scotto.
Your Honor,
Good morning.
it's been a pleasure to be with you throughout my time. It's also, it was a great thing that I ended up going to the Veterans Treatment Court in Las Cruces because it has opened my eyes. It took the veil off my eyes so that I could see that I do have the strength, that I do have the courage to continue on this journey called my life. And with the depression that I had, I couldn't see any further than my nose. It's been a struggle. It's been a real struggle. And I am just so glad that the VTC program existed. And I was given the opportunity to go to it. Mr. Trochet was the first one to mention it to me. And so I decided to go ahead and do it. He did mention to me how hard it was going to be to do so. But it was a choice that I had to make. And I made it. And it's been a journey. It's been quite a journey. I have learned quite a bit. I've learned to steer away from things that are not in my favor. And that's alcohol. I can no longer take alcohol in my life because it's only been a destruction. While I saw it in the past as a comforting thing, it's actually was destroying me.
Well, I really appreciate that, Mrs. Scotto, and I should have mentioned on the front end when I logged in, you're looking very well. And so I know you have put in the hard work. Let me go ahead and so I do commend you for that. Let me, I'm going to probably follow up with a few questions, but let me talk with probation, Ms. Mata.
Your Honor, I just inherited this case since it was just transferred over from New Mexico. There are a couple of things that are still pending. She is pending her repeat offenders course. There's a little bit of miscommunication. Mrs. Scotto told me that she was told that she was going to get credit for that because she completed the program up in New Mexico. However, I've never heard of such things. So as of right now, we're still pending the repeat offenders course. She completed the MAD course, and they did recommend for her when she came back to Texas to get a TAP assessment. That assessment is scheduled for the 1st of June. So we're still waiting on that. And then she is still pending the community service hours. She did mention to me that she has some medical issues and some issues, trauma going on, and that's why she's going to the VA for treatment. And she wanted to see if maybe once she provides all that medical documentation, hopefully the court would consider waiving those hours for her. But as of right now, that's what we have pending. We have pending a TAP assessment, her repeat offenders course, and her community service hours.
Okay. Ms. Elizalde, thank you. Ms. Mata, do you have any input here?
Yes, Judge, at this time, we would be objecting. That's not to in any way minimize all the great things happening for Mrs. Scotto. But what I will say is if defender school goes straight to the heart of this charge, it's a DWI 3rd. So I would like to see that be completed, as it was a term almost of probation. And the other thing I'm trying to check here, but because it's a DWI 3rd, I don't know if she can have early discharge.
Right. And that's where I was headed. I wanted to make sure I did hear, all the positive things, but early discharge is not available here. And so the recommendation from probation is that she continue on community supervision. quite frankly, Mrs. Cotto, I think you're on 3 years, which began in August of 2021. So we're looking at about another year. I want to know a little bit, Judge, about the things that she needs to do. So when it comes, I do recall her having some potential limitations that may prohibit her from being able to do community service. I don't have an issue waiving the community service. That I'm happy to do at this point. I will not discharge her early, and I will not remove the monitor. So she definitely has to maintain those. Obviously, if repeat offenders, Ms. Mata, if we're not finding something that she did in New Mexico that satisfies the repeat offenders program, that is still a requirement to be completed. However, I thought I heard something about working outside of El Paso.
Yeah.
And so.
Yeah, Ms. Martin, is Ms. Martin on there? Ms. Martin?
Kristen Mark.
Yes, I'm present.
Yeah, she is the New Mexico lady, Your Honor, so she can tell you what it was that she completed that is equivalent to what they want her to do here. Is that correct, Ms. Martin?
Ma'am, could you identify yourself? You're the New Mexico lady, but what are you?
I'm Kristen Martin with Adult Probation and Parole in Las Cruces, New Mexico.
Got it.
I started supervising Mrs. Cotto in July of 2022. I'm not sure who advised her that the something within the program would suffice for the repeat offender program. She did get assigned to a few different people along the way. She was initially reporting in Anthony, New Mexico. And then when she started a Veterans Treatment Court, she was assigned to a different Veterans Treatment Court officer. And then, like I said, I inherited her case in July. I did confirm with the vet court coordinator that she did complete community service hours. She didn't give me an exact amount, but she said that she did complete hours while she was in the program. She did do exceptionally well, and we did have our 5-year Veterans Treatment Court anniversary celebration on Tuesday. And Mrs. Cotto was given the opportunity to talk, and then she was recognized as an honorary graduate. From the time that I've supervised her in July, there have been no issues whatsoever. She's completed everything that she has been required to complete in regard to the program. So she completed treatment services through the peak here in Las Cruces. Like I said, I don't know who may have advised her that the treatment would suffice for what was ordered in Texas. But I had submitted verification that she completed her victim impact panel as well as Veterans Treatment Court through the interstate compact system to Texas so that they would see what conditions were completed. And so I did advise the coordinator, though, that, you know, due to statutes in Texas, an early discharge may not be possible because I have supervised offenders before with DWI offenses that have submitted motions with the court for an early discharge, and they weren't approved because of statute, not because of the person's compliance or behavior. Right. I mean, if it was possible, I would definitely recommend an early discharge for her. There were no issues or concerns on this end. And one thing that I do want to note, that she repeated multiple times while in the program, which I think is absolutely incredible, is when she entered the program, she was homeless. And now she's a homeowner. So she's made some really significant strides.
Right. Mrs. Cotto, there is no doubt that you have made tremendous leaps forward from, I mean, I remember even pre-plea, right? Even pre-plea, all of the things that were going on. But I will not discharge you early. I cannot discharge you early. What I will do, however, is if that community service is completed, I'm not so worried about that. My biggest concerns, Judge, are going to be that she maintains her monitor, that she maintains her reporting. I will allow her to travel outside of El Paso County for work purposes. So Ms. Mata, you can include that in any type of modification. I'm not hearing the details right now, but certainly you've really gone above and beyond to do really well. I don't mean even just really well because you're in court. I mean, for any person on the street, you're doing tremendously well. And I don't want your probation to impede that, but I also cannot and will not lessen the amount of monitoring that is done over this probation term, especially since we're looking at about 1 more year. What else is an issue at this time, Judge? We've got work possibly out of El Paso.
I was wondering about that repeat offender program, Your Honor. Is that she's already done, like the court has noted, all her services and so forth up in New Mexico, and particularly that very tough, veterans court. I wonder if that repeat offender program is really necessary at this point. Can we modify?
It is based on the charge. Yes.
Okay, and there was no, maybe the two caseworkers can tell the court and tell me actually that if what she did in New Mexico satisfies that repeat offender program.
Ms. Martin, are you still there?
Your Honor, based on the report that New Mexico sent to Interstate before she was transferred, I believe they said it didn't. So she did still have to go ahead and register for that.
Ms. Martin, was that the report from New Mexico?
I can't recall exactly. I know that I submitted verification of the verification of the conditions that she did complete. I'm not sure exactly what particular programming she completed while at the peak, except for I know she did moral recognition therapy, MRT. That's a pretty extensive therapy with multiple steps. I'm not sure if prior to me supervising her, she did the partial hospitalization program through the peak. But like I said, I never said that would suffice for the repeat offender program. So I'm not sure if she was given that information maybe by the vet court coordinator, because I think that may have been prior to me stepping in as her officer.
Okay. But in terms of your assessment, Ms. Martin, that repeat offender program has not been completed, correct?
No, ma'am.
Okay. All right. So it's still pending. It's still pending. And Ms. Martin, I'm sure you're very busy, so thank you very much for taking the time to join us today. I appreciate that. We don't often see our New Mexico partners here help us, but thank you. Oh, and she still has her 10 days ACOP.
I think she did all those, didn't she, Your Honor?
No. So we still have some things pending. Here's what I would like to do. The motion for early discharge, of course, is denied. I'm going to ask Ms. Mata, since this is a recent transfer to you, to coordinate with Ms. Escoto. I mean, you're seeing, I don't know if you've all personally met yet, but you're seeing, I guess, the strides, huge strides that she's made over the course of her probation. And so I would be very surprised if we were to fall off track, Ms. Escoto. So get with Ms. Mata, and I want whatever else needs to be tweaked at this time, any requests that she's making, if we look further into the New Mexico transfer, and if there is something that is satisfied that we missed along the way, I am more than happy to come back on a probation status, or even if you figure it out, Ms. Mata, and something changes, if you shoot me an email with some type of modification, absolutely we'll look at it.
Thank you, Your Honor. So at this time, may I submit the mods for two-wave community service and to allow her to travel?
Absolutely.
For both purposes.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Judge, same thing. I mean, if there's something that you discuss with your client that she wants to come back, if there's something that is not working with probation, please feel free to do that.
Yeah, and I feel like I should apologize. I missed the obvious, which is Mrs. Cotto, obviously, that the early release was not available. I think I knew that at some point, but then I must have forgotten it. But we're so excited about Mrs. Cotto's progress that I thought,
Right.
wow, this is
Oh, I think it's an amazing thing. When I saw the case summary, Mrs. Cotto, I was so happy. I don't get to see these kinds of cases very often. You're unique and you've put in the hard work, so you should know that. You should know that. But we can't discharge her early. So there was one other thing I was going to ask.
I have a question, Your Honor.
Yes, ma'am.
I was hoping that I don't have to do those 10 days, but if I have to, well, then I will.
Yeah, the 10 days are mandatory. I am very flexible about how you want to do them. So We can do work release. We can do weekends. I'll refer you to Miss Mata. I mean, we have a little over a year, right? I don't require that, you know, next week you go in there and turn yourself in. I will work with you on that, but they do have to be done. Okay.
Okay.
All righty. All right. I'm not going to set anything else, Judge, unless you need to come back or Miss Mata asked to come back for some reason. Okay.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you very much. You'll
Thank
have a good day. Good luck to you,
Thank you, Your
Mrs.
Honor.
Mata. Good
Thank-
job.
Thank you.
Thank you, Miss Martin. Okay, who's next?
Mr. Vasquez, Judge, let me bring him in. He did appear in person, Judge, and he's outside with on his phone.
Okay. Carla, are you covering Diego Vasquez?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Why isn't he coming in?